When news breaks suddenly, especially when it touches something as central as people's jobs, families, and futures, it can create an immediate sense of uncertainty. That's exactly what happened over the weekend when the White House made a surprise announcement about the H-1B visa program. The announcement of a new, extremely high fee sent shockwaves through companies, employees, and immigration specialists. For a period of hours, there was widespread confusion, urgent travel changes, and frantic communication across the corporate world. Later clarification calmed some of those fears, but questions remain about what the change means in practice and whether more shifts are coming in the future. To understand why this story generated such an intense reaction, we need to step back and explain the program itself. The H-1B visa is a work visa used by U.S. companies to hire highly skilled foreign workers, often in technology, healthcare, engineering, and research fields. It's particularly common among major tech firms such as Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and other companies that rely on international talent to fill specialized roles. Getting an H-1B visa is not simple. The process involves a lottery system, years of preparation, fees, and paperwork. For many workers, being selected for an H-1B is seen as a life-changing milestone. It can open the door to career growth in the U.S. and long-term stability for families. Against this backdrop, the announcement on Friday was especially jarring. The White House revealed that the administration would impose a new fee of $100,000 on H-1B petitions, set to take effect at precisely 1 minute past midnight on Sunday. That left almost no time for employers or employees to prepare. The wording of the announcement suggested the policy could apply not only to new applications, but also to renewals or even people currently traveling on valid visas. As the news spread, panic set in. Imagine being one of those workers. Some had just started planning travel to visit family abroad. Others were already overseas for work or vacation. Some were even on cruises or traveling between countries when the announcement appeared. Messages began flying inside major corporations. According to reports, human resources teams at tech giants divided up lists of H-1B employees, tried to identify where everyone was and whether they might need immediate travel assistance. Employees abroad were urged to fly back to the U.S. immediately, before the fee could potentially take effect and trap them outside the country. Some companies even warned their visa-holding employees already in the U.S. not to leave, at least until the policy became clear. The speed and scale of the reaction underscored just how disruptive sudden immigration changes can be. Internal communications at companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google showed leaders telling staff to remain in the United States for the time being. A tech services firm even advised employees overseas to catch flights home as soon as possible. Immigration lawyers, meanwhile, rushed to send out bulletins to clients, trying to explain what little information was available. But even the lawyers admitted they did not yet have all the answers. This was the moment when confusion and fear were at their peak. Employees felt as though they had to make immediate life decisions with very little guidance. Some pulled out of meetings and headed straight for airports. Some tried to book routes that included U.S. pre-clearance facilities and foreign airports, hoping to avoid being turned away later. Social media filled with stories of employees scrambling to find flights, calling their families, and rethinking their plans. Human resources leaders described the scene as scramble mode, with staff tracking employees' whereabouts in real time and urging them to return. But within 24 hours, the White House issued clarifying guidance. Officials explained that the new $100,000 fee would apply only to new H-1B petitions. It would not affect renewals, current visa holders, or workers who had already been selected in the most recent lottery. Moreover, the fee was a one-time payment tied to each new petition, not an annual recurring cost. This clarification changed the outlook dramatically. Employees who had worried about being locked out of the U.S. breathed a sigh of relief. Companies that had begun mobilizing emergency travel plans scaled back their efforts. The sense of crisis eased somewhat. Still, even after the clarification, unease remained. Workers wondered what might come next. If such a major change could be announced with so little warning, could there be additional adjustments in the future? Immigration attorneys noted that this move might represent only the first step in a broader series of changes to the H-1B program. One immigration lawyer was quoted as saying, "We believe this is just step one." That statement captured the lingering anxiety. Even though the immediate crisis had passed, uncertainty about the future remained. For companies, the financial stakes are significant. A $100,000 fee per new petition would represent a dramatic increase in costs. Many large employers sponsor thousands of H-1B workers, and while the clarification limited the fee to new petitions only, it still changes how businesses think about their talent strategies. Some firms may need to reevaluate how many new international hires they can afford to sponsor. Others may shift resources toward local hiring or seek alternative visa categories. For employees, the issue is not just financial, but deeply personal. Consider the worker who shared that his H-1B status would not begin for several weeks. His mother in India was ill, and he worried about whether he would be able to travel if her condition worsened. Even though the clarification suggested he should be fine, he admitted he did not want to take the risk. That captures the human side of the story. Behind the policies and the numbers are people making real decisions about family, careers, and security. Another important aspect is the way the announcement unfolded. The lack of advance notice amplified the sense of chaos. Lawyers described being flooded with calls and emails from clients across industries, from healthcare to manufacturing, all asking what the new rule meant. Executives exchanged late-night text messages, trying to interpret the policy and figure out next steps. By the time clarification came, many people had already altered their plans or gone through a day of high stress. This sequence, initial shock, scramble for information, and later clarification, shows how communication matters just as much as the policy itself. When announcements are sudden, without detailed explanation, they create gaps in understanding. Those gaps trigger anxiety, speculation, and rush decisions. Even after clarification, the memory of that panic lingers, leaving people hesitant and cautious. Now, let's reflect on why this matters beyond the immediate circle of companies and visa holders. Immigration policy is one of those areas where the details affect real lives very quickly. The H-1B program in particular sits at the intersection of business, technology, and international mobility. For companies, it's about accessing global talent. For employees, it's about securing a path to opportunity. And for policymakers, it's about balancing economic needs with political goals. A sudden change, especially one with a very high price tag, brings all these tensions into focus at once. At this stage, one of the biggest takeaways is the importance of clarity. The White House emphasized that the fee is limited to new petitions, not current visa holders or renewals. Officials also stressed that existing visa holders remain free to travel in and out of the U.S. without being subject to the new charge. These clarifications are crucial to prevent unnecessary disruption. And yet, the fact that so many employees and companies had already taken urgent measures shows just how fragile confidence can be when information is incomplete. It's also worth considering the ripple effects. Even if current visa holders are unaffected, many said they would avoid international travel for now. They worry that another unexpected announcement could happen while they're abroad, putting them at risk of being stuck outside the country. In other words, the initial shock has already influenced behavior, regardless of the clarification. That's the long shadow of uncertainty. Over the coming weeks and months, observers will be watching closely to see whether this policy is a one-time move or the start of a broader trend. Will more fees or restrictions follow? Will companies adjust their hiring strategies permanently? Will workers feel less secure about making personal plans, such as visiting family abroad? These are open questions, and the answers will shape not only the technology industry, but also the lives of thousands of international workers who contribute daily to the U.S. economy. In summary, the story of the $100,000 H-1B fee announcement highlights several lessons. Sudden policy changes can generate enormous disruption, even if they are later clarified. Communication gaps can magnify uncertainty, pushing people into stressful and costly decisions. And behind every policy are real people trying to balance their careers with their family responsibilities. The immediate panic may have passed, but the concerns and questions it raised are likely to persist. As of now, what we know is that the fee applies only to new H-1B petitions. It is a one-time cost, not an annual charge. Current visa holders, renewals, and lottery winners for 2025 are not affected. The White House has made these points clear, and companies are adjusting accordingly. But the broader conversation about immigration, the workforce, and global talent will continue. For many, this episode is a reminder of how quickly the ground can shift and how essential it is to stay informed through reliable sources and official channels.